Now we're speaking about certain things on a Torah level. Okay, on a Torah level, either you're contaminated or you're not contaminated. If a person is not contaminated, Norman, is very important. Whether you eat truma, whether you eat kochim, whether you're involved in paraduma, Torah says you have to be pure. Pure is pure. However, rabbinically, the Chazal, they instituted many stringencies. They said even a person is considered sufficiently pure for, let's say, for chulin, but if initially he was only cognizant not to be contaminated for chulin, let's say for truma, which has sanctity and a certain status, it's not sufficient. So when you go to the mikveh, you have to have a mind, I'm being tovel for truma. And when a person has that mindset, he's cognizant not to become contaminated because he wants to be able to eat truma. That person has that mindset. Let's say he wants to eat kochin. He wants to eat sacrificial meat. Rabbinically, you can't. It's good. But the Torah says you're pure, you're pure. Rabbinically, they gave it a special status, kochim, which is more advanced than truma, that people should be more careful. Let's say you're careful for kochim. But what about to do the paraduma? Paraduma, they gave it even a higher status. So even if you went to the mikveh to be able to eat kochim, but not for paraduma, you're not qualified to be involved in the paraduma. But if you had in mind to be involved with paraduma, which is the most advanced, which is the most stringent, it covers anything less than the paraduma. Okay, that's basically the principle. And we'll see the many stringencies that they established on many levels, which apply to one thing, don't apply to other, only because, but they're all rabbinical, only because of the nature of what we're dealing with. Okay. Chome b'kodesh mi b'truma. There's a greater stringency by kodesh than truma. What's the stringency? Shemat bilan kelim toch kelim the truma. Let's say you have two vessels that are tomei, two kelim that are tomei. Mishnah. And so we know that a chatzitza, let's say you want to be told something is a chatzitza, it's not a valid tefillah. Let's say you put one. Let's say you have. What? Let's say you have the outer kli is tummy, and you have the in. Now you want to put a crochet needle, or needles that are contaminated inside a larger vessel, and that's what you want to put in the mikveh. So the halacha is, if you want to do that for truma, the needles or the crochet hook, whatever inside the vessel is purified. Although it wasn't directly put into the mikveh, it was within the vessel to be put in the mikveh. The way today with tovel, let's say somewhere. You know, usually they have a basket that it's perforated, and you put it in, that's where you tovel it. That wouldn't make the grade if it would be for kochim. For kochim, you have to put the thing directly into the mikveh itself. You can't put a vessel in a vessel to be for tefillah. Be a discussion about what exactly is the reason. Let's say you have it's interesting, there's a halacha that this has relevance to Pesach, that there's certain times that you have to, if you put something in water and you let it sit for 24 hours, and the water circulates around it for 24, it's part of, and you do it 3 24-hour periods, for certain things it's sufficient, okay? What happens if you stack plates? You put one plate on top of the other plate in a tub filled with water, and it soaks for 24 hours. It's not valid. Why? Because the weight of the plate on top of another plate doesn't allow the water to circulate around. It has to be able to circulate fully around the vessel that's in the water. Okay? So there's a concern that if you put a vessel in a vessel, let's say it's true, if it's a needle or crochet hook in something, the water in the vessel will circulate around it. But let's say it's a heavy vessel, right? So if the heavy vessel is in the vessel, so it's going to be like wedged in there, the water's not going to circulate around the outer vessel, not around the inner vessel. So therefore, because of that concern, for truma they said, we'll let it go. But by kochim, which were much more machmir, much more stringent, it doesn't make the grade. That's one interpretation. Now, let's say you have a vessel becomes tamei, or this is all rabbinical contamination. And let's say you have one vessel which has usages, meaning the inner part used for one thing. Let's say the base, if you turn it upside down, you can use the underside of the vessel. Let's say there's something jutting out on the side, you can use it for something else. So we have one vessel, different parts of the vessel of the kli have multiple usages. Let's say part of the vessel becomes tamei, rabbinical contamination. The rest of the vessel we treat as if it's tor, even though you didn't put it in the mikveh. Yeah, still considered tor. That's only true for truma. Because we're dealing with a rabbinical contamination. So although part of the vessel is tummy, but since it has multiple functions, different parts of the kli, we see each part of the kli as a separate kli. But for kochim, if any part of the kli becomes tamei, the whole kli is tamei, you have to immerse the whole kli in the mikveh. So that's the next one. Achorayim v'toch beis hatzvita. The outer part of the kli, the inside of the kli, basically is something which shuts out bitruma. Avolol b'kodesh. If part is tamei, the whole thing's tamei. Hanosis hamedras. If a person carries something, let's say a person's a zav, and you have a shoe. It was a shoe. The shoe itself contaminates. You touch the shoe, you can even contaminate the person. A person takes the shoe and puts it into an earthenware barrel. So a kli cheres, so you protect it. It's in the barrel. You didn't put your hand inside the barrel. If you put your hand within the barrel, even if you don't touch the shoe, the inside of the kli, wherever that object of tumah is lying, the whole environment is contaminated. Okay? So he carries the vessel with the shoe in it. No sees at truma. He could carry truma because factually he didn't become contaminated because he was actually insulated by the earthenware vessel because it was in. He didn't put his hand in. Avalol kodesh. But for kodesh, for kochim, you carry that, we contaminate you. These are all fences which were more careful for kochim than for truma. Big day ochle truma. Person has to be torati truma. The garments of a person means truma medras l'kodesh. His garments are considered medras for kodesh. Lo kamidas ha'hegdish midas ha'truma. Shebekodesh matir umangiv umatbil. V'akach kosher. Now this is important. Now the halacha is, this is kli l'chatzitza. Let's say you have a beged, a garment becomes contaminated, and the garment has, let's say, a bow on it. Or the material is knotted, that's the way you wear it. And now it becomes, could you be tovelet in its knotted state or it's in bowed state? So for kochim, you have to undo the bow. Because say if it's a bowed state, we're concerned the water doesn't penetrate the inner part of the knot. So therefore, what's tamei is not fully immersed in the mikveh. Let's say you have some liquid on it. Although liquid is not a chatzitza. Let's say you have a liquid on a kli and you put it in the mikveh. So we say the water interacts and totally dilutes the water. For kochim umachmi, we see the liquid, even that is a chatzitza. You have to dry the kli. If you have a kli which has liquid on a kli that's tamei, you have to first dry the kli, then you put it in the mikveh. Because we're concerned the person will see the water as a chatzitza and he'll justify chatzitza in another situation. No, because it's not really, even for kochim it's not a chatzitza. Because factually the water does penetrate the knot. Does penetrate it. But since it could be perceived it's a problem, so we're more machmir by kochim than by truma. Okay? So we say, midas ha-truma. Lo k'vidis kodesh midas ha-truma. Shebekodesh matir, you have to undo. Menagi, you have to dry it. Umatbil. Va'akach kosher, then you re-knot it. But truma kosher, meaning, Rashi says, you can even leave it knotted. You don't have to untie it. Va'akach matbil. Kelen nigmorim betayro. You have a kli only is susceptible to tumah what? When it's a finished vessel. What about you're in the midst of making it, it's not yet functioning as a vessel yet. A sheretz touches, it's not contaminated. So kli that was made betaro, tzrichen tefillah kodesh, never came into contact with anything contaminated. Before you use it for a kochim, you have to immerse it in the mikveh. That's a chumrah by kochim. It's chumrah. Avalo truma, but for truma said definitely not. Why? If it never came in contact with anything contaminated, why should you put it in the mikveh? So the chumrah, the stringency we demand for kochim is not demanded by truma. Now, new concept. Let's say you have a vessel, and in the vessel you have multiple pieces of food, and somebody's tummy touches one of the items. For kochim, we see the vessel combines that we see all the items as if they're attached. So when he touches one, it's like he's touching all of them. Okay? So akli mitzarv mashibsochel kodesh avalo the truma. When do we see all the items in the food items in the vessel as one? That's only if it's kochim. But if it's truma, because truma it makes a shlishi, b'lion shlishi doesn't contaminate. So if you have multiple things, let's say they're touching one another, after a certain point it's going to stop. It's not going to affect anything else. But if, let's say by kochim, where I see it as one object, a person has a watermelon. A person touches one end of the watermelon. The watermelon is contaminated because it's one entity. So for kochim, we see the vessel actually causing everything in the vessel to be seen as one entity. So when the person's tummy touches one, it's like he touched everything. For truma is not the case. Excuse me. By kochim, revi is posul. Meaning, you have rishon, difference between tuma means it contaminates, posul means it stops there. So by kochim, we have, revi could be posul by kochim. But shlishi but truma. You could have a rishon, is a sheni, a shlishi, but the shlishi is posul. It cannot go beyond shlishi. Okay? Ubetruma, what's the halacha? If a kohen wants to eat truma, right, and he doesn't know if his hands, he may have touched his head, touched something unclean. He could eat the truma with the other hand. Although one hand he can't touch the truma, the other hand he can. Ubekodesh, matvil shteyan. Even though you only one, he has to. We had earlier that for truma you have to, the tilo, you can't use a vessel. You have to put your hands in the mikveh. To eat kochim, person has to take both hands, put them in the mikveh, or in a river or a lake, whatever it may be. They like that. It's altarska. They like kochim, everything. Yeah, we'll see. Mapil shteyem shayad metamis chaverto bekodesh avalol truma ochlin niguvin biyodai misuvavos betruma. Now, let's say you have a food item, a vegetable, a fruit, never ever came in contact with water. Even if a sheretz touches it, it's not tummy. So let's say a person, we said rabbinically you have to wash your hands before you touch truma. It has to be washed. Let's say these fruits and vegetables never came in contact with water. You're permitted to eat it without anything, right? Because even if a sheretz would touch it, it doesn't contaminate. It's not called muchshel kabel tuma, avalol kodesh. But for kochim, even though the kochim never came in contact, you have to wash your hands before you touch it. We don't allow you. I mean, you have to immerse your hands in the mikveh before you eat the kochim. No, it doesn't make it. No, since at one time after it was cut, after it was picked, it came in contact with water, and the owner of the item was agreeable that it should be wet, right? That's the only time it's mukhshul kabel tuma, right? If let's say somebody else, something spills accidentally and something he didn't want, doesn't affect it. But we'll make it simple. This food item from the time it was harvested never came in contact with water. For truma, a person never washed his hands, can touch it, can eat it. For kochim, doesn't make a difference. It's a stringency by kodesh, a low kodesh. Now, onein, person's onein, that's before the burial. He never became contaminated. Mechusik Yippurim, person has to bring a korban, let's say a metzora, a zav, he has to bring a korban, only then is he permitted to go into the Beis HaMikdash. Or is he permitted to eat kochim? Sichen filo kodesh. Although his korban was brought, he never was contaminated, he has to go to the mikveh before he eats kochim. Avalol truma, because he was never contaminated, he can eat truma without going to the mikveh. But for kochim, since an onein is not permitted to eat kochim, a person has an onein, so therefore as a result of that, we treat him as if he was contaminated, although he wasn't contaminated. And the same thing, Mechusik Purim. Mechusik Purim is not permitted to eat kochim. He's not per person, let's say a person's a zav. He went to the mikveh, he brought his korban. He's not permitted to eat kochim until he brings his korban. But since factually, he wasn't permitted, like kochim was off limits to him, we treat him as if he was contaminated. Therefore, before he eats kochim, again, rabbinically, he has to go to the mikveh. But truma is not the case, because a Mechusik Purim is permitted to eat truma. Now we have an argument. It says in the Mishnah, you cannot be tovel one vessel in another vessel. Right at the beginning of the Mishnah. The question is why? Because it's interesting. For Kodesh, right? One vessel now, only for Truma, yes, for Kodesh not. Kodesh is my time alone. You hear this? Because the weight of the inner kli weighs down, so when you put both kalim in the water cannot circulate around on the inside of the kli, because it's weighted down on the inside of the kli. Yeah? That's the reason. That's Rebbe's interpretation of the mitzvah. We'll see summarize the question, because now we have a problem. Because if that's the no. It's a chumrah. It's true. No, the Gemara is a different question. The Mishnah, if in various cases, it speaks about clean, then it speaks of, and then it finally gets back to speak a case where you have a knotted garment. For kochim, you have to undo the knot. You have to take off. If it's wet, you have to dry it. There, it's clear that's chatzitza. You have to undo the knot, because since the knot's there, the water can't penetrate. So that's chatzitza. So if the reish is chatzitza, first of all, what do we need two cases of chatzitza? And also, if it's chatzitza, why does the Mishnah interrupt? We should say both cases of chatzitza. You're not permitted to be tovel, a kli, and and if you have a garment that's knotted, you have to undo the knot. It discusses first the case, the kli, then speaks other cases, which are unrelated to this. Then it gets back to a garment that's knotted, you have to undo the knot. So that's the most question of Rabbi Elo. So if the sefer, the latter case in the Mishnah speaks chatzitza, evidently the first case of a kli is not chatzitza. The Ktani sefer of lo kemidas hakodesh, midas hachuma, shebekodesh matir, you undo the knot, umangif, umatbil, or you dry it and then you tovel it. V'akach kosher, and then you retie it. Ubetruma kosher, v'akach matbil. So if we speak chatzitza later, so evidently the beginning of the Mishnah is not speaking chatzitza, must be for another reason. You can't put a kli. It's not chatzitza. So Mar says no. Reisha v'seif mishum chatzitza. The first case is chatzitza, and we have to discuss another case of chatzitza. Yeah, why? Because even one case, maybe you won't be concerned, the other you will, or vice versa. Why do you both cases? Shricha. The yeshbina reisha avamina hainu taimo. The lekodesh lo, you know why? Mishum kvedo shakli diiko. There's the weight of the inner kli doesn't allow the water to circulate around the inner kli. So we're concerned if the kli is heavy, it's not a proper tefillah because the inner kli is weighted down in the inner kli. Avol sefer the leka kvedo shakli. We're talking about a knot, not a weight. Emo lekodesh nami lo avichatzit. I'd say the knotted garment's not a problem. V'yashmin the sefer havamino hainu time lekodesh lo mishum the kitro. Because the knot, I'd say, you know why the knot is a problem? Which means the water causes it to remain tight. So because it brings, he says, so because there's a strong possibility that maybe a chatzitza, the water cannot penetrate the knot, that's the reason why you have to undo the knot. But the case of kli, the maya akfi magfi like the mono. What happens when you put a kli in a kli? Regal heavy. The water causes it to rise, right, to lift up. So therefore, I'd say chatzitza is not a problem, because it lifts it up regardless of its weight. So I'd say lo avi chatzitza. Therefore, we need both cases rabbinically that we're machmir. In the case of a kli, we're concerned about chatzitza, and the case of the garment by the knot, you have to undo the knot or the bow before you actually tovel it for kodesh. That's Rabbi Elo. Rabbi Elo, the way he interprets the Mishnah, he's consistent with his pshat. With his position, the Omer Rabbi Elo, Omer Rab Chanina bar Popo. Rabbi Elo said, name of Chanina bar Popo, Esem Malus Shanu Kan. We find the 10 levels of chumrah, of stringencies. Chomish Rishonos, Bein L'Kodesh, Bein L'Chulin Shnas L'Atayros HaKodesh. You know, there were people, Rashi explains there earlier, that there were people, even chulin, because since they used to eat kochim, so they instituted in their families that even when they ate chulin, they ate the chulin with all the stringencies that you would keep by kodesh. Because if not, they were concerned the families wouldn't be careful enough, and it'll come to contaminate kochim. So even when they ate chulin, something totally non-consecrated, they would eat it with all the stringencies of kodesh. So he says the first five levels of chumrah, we apply bein lo kodesh, bein lo chulin shenasu v'tayros hakodesh. Here, to kodesh, and even chulin, that they conduct themselves as if it's kochim. Achronos, the last 5, Lakodesh, those rabbinically they said that you have to conduct yourself for only if it's real kochim. But they didn't require that. That wasn't considered a failing if you ate kochim, chulin that was even al taras hakodesh. My taimo. What's the reason? Why the first 5? Yes, we don't differentiate between kochim and chulin al taras hakodesh. My taimo. Chomish kamaisa, because we'll have to go through Rashi. The first 5, the isle draw the tumah. It has some relevance to tumah d'oraisa. So because it has some relevance, semblance of tumah d'oraisa, we're concerned about a level of confusion. So therefore, even chul shnas taras hakodesh, we institute those same stringencies. Gozber abonon bein lo kodesh, bein lo chul shnas taras hakodesh. Basraisa, the last 5. The lesbu draw the tumah, which have no relevance to tumah, it's just a chumrah midoraisa. Midoraisa goes with rabbanon. If we're dealing with something which is the real kochim, they legislated the chumrah, l'kodesh, l'chulin shnas hakodesh, lo goes with rabbanon. Just the Rashi on these, the first 5. Draw the tumah doraisa. He says chashash tumah doraisa. What's the case? kli b'toch kli. You have a vessel in a vessel. I'iko chatzitza tuma d'oraisa. Right? If let's say it would be a real chatzitza, it's a problem. That means the vessel is not properly immersed. Correct? It's not a valid tefillah. Achorayim v'toch avagav dekelu shenitmu achorim v'mashkin the tuma d'rabbanan. Now, what case do we have now? If a zav, the saliva of a zav, what's the saliva is considered an avatuma. That's considered the source of contamination. So therefore, they say liquid that you touch with hands. Let's say you didn't wash your hands, and you touch liquid, that liquid becomes contaminated on a rabbinical level. Okay, so let's say that liquid would go on touch a vessel. So rabbinically, they said it only contaminates part of the vessel, not the whole vessel. Okay, but why did they legislate the law of that liquid? Because since we find there's such a thing as roik, the saliva of a zav, or the urine of a zav, which is considered an avatuma, so therefore anything which is liquid has a semblance of tuma d'oraisa. We'll see in a moment. Miu hodom rabbanan mashkim etame kli mishum gzeirov de mashke zov zova who could go roko who made me raglov tame kli d'oraisa. There, let's say it would be the real thing. It would be a saliva or it'd be his urine. It would contaminate the kli on a Torah level. Ubetuma d'oraisa a chiluk bekli shetiv bein acharayim letocho kol mokum shetumam nogasbo nitbakulo. Wherever that saliva or the urine touches, it's totally contaminated. What about nedrus? You have the shoe that we spoke about came contaminated. Nami chashash tuma d'oraisa gedim forish begemara ma'isoi shenoflu ritzua hasan la'avir achovis, because we said he's carrying the shoe in a barrel, in an earthenware barrel. What happens if you put his hand inside the barrel, not touching the shoe that's an avatuma, which with this person, the zav, walked on, just in the atmosphere where the shoe is lying, becomes contaminated. Big day ochle truma medrash lekodesh shema yoshva lein ishto nido chash tuma doraisi keil nigmorim mishum tzinor dam oretz shema zofu. Okay, let's go further. So what's the reason why is Rabbeinu Shitoso? Because Rabbeinu holds that since the kli to kli, it's a question of chatzitza. Therefore, we're so machmir. We're so machmir because we considered, although, as you said earlier, the weight of the water would cause, regardless how heavy it is, it would lift. Nevertheless, rabbinically, they said we treat it as if the weight of the kli is weighted down, and the water will not properly circulate around the vessel. A vessel in a vessel. Doesn't make a difference. The whole thing is it's based on perception. Since people perceive it as the weight, the water may not be able to circulate. So you said you can be tovel even though there's a chatzitza. That's what people will say. So if they say that, we have a problem. The outer vessel, yeah, but we're concerned about the inner one. So even if it's sitting, but what about the inner part of the inner one? The whole vessel has to come in contact with water. Let's say the inner one is weighted down, so that means that area is not, the water's not going to touch it. Both came was the problem. Both came was the problem. Because the inner one is weighted down, and the outer one, because it's weighted down, the water's not going to contact that part of the inner part of the outer kli, because it has something weighted down on it. It's not because it's not a problem. Yeah, but when we do it, unless it's truly like twisted together, it's wedged. Sometimes you have two glasses wedged into one another. There, it's a problem because factually the water doesn't get between the two. So you have to make sure they're separated. Okay, you have two glasses, two cups, especially plastic cup, not plastic. You don't need, or something metal. You have something. There's drabonon. But still, you still need a proper tefillah on glass. Midrabonon needs tefillah. Basket. We can talk the Gemara. No, it's clear. The Gemara on Chav Vezos is talk about this case. It's called the gugasni. They used to use these big baskets when wine, when it would flow. After when they press it, you had all the sediment mixed in it. So with flow, they would put this like wicker basket that it was full of holes, and the wine would pass and it would catch all the sediment in the basket. That basket was called gugasni. So the Gemara is going to discuss the case using that kind of basket. And you put a vessel in it, and you know, is it a problem? So according to Rabbeinu, is a problem. Because since the basket is called a kli, we don't differentiate one kind of kli and another kli. So therefore, even though this kli, it's not possible to chatzitza, the thing is totally perforated. Water's going to flow from every side. But if people say you could do it, though they won't say, well, you can do in this one, I could do something, use another vessel. Therefore, rabbinically, you can't use any. But the Gemara is going to show in a moment, but according to Rava learns a whole different shot. Now, if you have two mikvos, let's say you have a mikvah with 40 so, well, let's say 20 and 20, and there's a hole connecting both sides. Are they connected? If there's a hole connecting. The hole has to be of a certain size. If the hole is not a certain size, the mikvah, the two bodies of water are not considered connected. It's called shvers hanod. Excuse me. It's not considered connected. So the Rava says like this. Let's say you have a kli. Let's say a soda bottle. Okay? And I put, let's say, contaminated needles or a crochet hook in that soda bottle. So it has a very narrow opening. And the soda bottle is not contaminated. And I put it in the mikveh. So the question is now, the water goes in, but the water in the bottle is connected to the mikveh. Rava says it's not connected to the mikveh. You know why? Because the opening is not wide enough. It has to be minimally 2 fingers that you could turn the fingers rotate them circular. It's too small, so it becomes a problem. So that's the reason why kli to kli. Since you have a vessel and a vessel, we're concerned what would be if the vessel you use, the outer vessel, the opening's not wide enough. So it comes out, it's not a valid tefillah. So Mar's going to say that if you use an ordinary vessel, people use one vessel, you say this vessel has a wide enough opening, another one may not be. But this basket, there's no such thing as a basket. You have wider mouth vessels, a narrow one. So people won't differentiate. What if I'm dealing with this very large basket, or this wicker basket? There's no wicker basket that the opening is so small. So therefore, according to Rava, if you want to use a wicker basket, even the Mishnah would agree, you could put a kli inside the wicker basket. Because the nature of the basket, it's never made with such a small opening. But a vessel made of what's it called, of earthenware, a vessel made of metal, made of wood, whatever it may, you have a different size openings. Therefore, I don't differentiate. You can't use any vessel. So we'll see the Gemara. Rav Omar, mid the seif havi mishum chatzitza, reish lav mishum chatzitza. He argues with Rabbi Elo. He says if the reisha, if the seif is chatzitza, the case where you have the garment knotted, if that's the reason why you have to open the knots for kochim, evidently the opening case, why can't you put one kli in another for tefillah? It's not chatzitza, another issue. Reishanu time of gzeru shelo yapil machnev v'tznoris b'kli shem b'fiv shveres hanod. What about if we'll take needles or crochet hooks and we'll put it into a bottle, in a kli, where the opening is not shveres hanod. As I just said, it doesn't have the opening is not as wide as 2 fingers. It becomes a problem. Kidnan, eruv mikvos. If you want to intermingle 2 mikvos, you have one mikvah 40 so, another mikvah 20 so, and you want to be tovel on the side that's 20. So the opening from the 40 to the 20 has to be kishver sanod u'uvyo u'chalolo shtei etzbos. Mean it's not enough to just, let's say, vertically or horizontally. It has to be fully, a circle has to be equivalent to choshes l'makoma, which you can actually turn them without difficulty. Okay? So Rav argues, Sava l'koha, the Omer Rav Nachman, Omer Rabbi Ravua, Yud Aleph Ma'ilu Shanukan. You have 6, so according to Rabbi Elo, the first case of the kli b'soch kli and the case of the knotted garment is the same chumrah. According to Rav, he's learning a whole different shot. You have 11, right? Because he's learning the first and the case of the garment, the 2 different reasons. One is because we're considering shver sanod, and what? And the garment is chatzitza. So the Omer Rav Nachman, Omer Rabbi Ravua, Yudalf Ma'ilo Shanukan, Sheish Rishon is Bein LaKodesh, Bein LaChulin Shinaso Taras HaKodesh. The first 6 apply to Kodesh, and Chulin, which the person eats al Taras HaKodesh. Okay? Avol, excuse me, Achronas, but the last 5, LaKodesh, Avol LaChulin Shinaso Taras HaKodesh. Following. We said, like Rav Elo said, according to Rav Elo, how many chumras do we find? Only 10. Because the first and the latter one of the garment is the same chumrah. Except we need both because you'd think maybe you differentiate between the 2. As the Gemara said, one because the water penetrates the knot, or because the water lifts the inner kli. but both are the same concern. According to Rav is a new concept. The first reason is one reason, because we're concerned the opening of the vessel may not be large enough. And the case of the garment that has the bow or the knot, why does it have to be undone? It's chatzitza. So the first 6, we don't define whether it's kodesh or a person needs chulin al tyrus kodesh. He has to observe and abide by all 6 of these stringencies. Okay. So now wants to say, ma'ika bein derava l'rabeilo. Halachically, what's the difference? Factually, everything that says in the Mishnah, you're not permitted to do this, A, B, C, D, for Kodesh, or things with not stars. What's the halachic difference? The Gemara says, Ikabeinayu, Savru Gugasni, Shemilon, Kalon, Vitbilon. If you take this large basket, this wicker basket, and you put Kalim inside, is it a valid tefillah, rabbinically, for Kodesh? Right? Lamadia Mishum Chatzitza, according to Ravelo, this is the reason why you're not permitted to clean a kli, is because of Chatzitza. Ikot is a problem. Because if it's weighted down, it's not a valid tefillah. Lamadia mishum zero shem yapel chmachim tzinoris beklishem piv kishvers hanod. But according to the reason why we're machmi by a vessel, because the opening may not be large enough, and not be the circumference of two fingers. Salvu gasli shem piv kishvers hanod leket. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a basket, a wicker basket that doesn't have an opening, which is minimally kishvers hanod. Therefore, if you tovel in that kind of basket, it can't be confused with anything else. Any other kli will machmir, because it can be confused. The opening may not be large enough. But by the wicker basket, that's the only halachic difference between Rava and Ravelo. According to Ravelo, even a wicker basket, you cannot put kalim in there to be tovel them because of chatzitza. But according to Rava, that the opening may not be large enough, that will never happen because there's no such thing as a wicker basket where the opening is not large enough. Vaz the Rava Latame, and Rava is consistent with his position. Doma Rava salvu gasni shemilon kalim vidbilon torin. That if you fill a wicker basket up with vessels which are contaminated, you tovel them, it's a valid tefillah. Umikvo shecholko begugasni. What about if you have a mikvah? Listen, you have a mikvah. You know what's going on? You have a mikvah. It's 40 saw. The person divides the mikvah down the center with wicker baskets, so the water flows through. But he made a partition made of wicker baskets. Hatovel shem lo oslo tefillah. If you tovel there, it's not a valid tefillah. You know why? What's the halacha? Earth is porous. The ground is porous. Water comes through. Yeah, what's the halacha? You have 20 saw on one side, 20 saw on the, and you have an earthenware wall separating both sides. It's not valid. But factually, water seeps through. But because it doesn't flow through with the openings large enough, it's a problem. It's the same thing with the wicker baskets. The water flows through the wicker baskets. But how large are the holes? The tiny holes. So it's no worse than the earth itself. Just as the earth itself, although it's porous. And the water seeps through. Yet it's called a separation. We don't see the water as being in one location. Identically, if you take a mikveh and you divide it down the center with wicker baskets, we see the mikveh divided, so either side of the baskets, your tovel, it's not a valid tefillah because we see the water being in two locations. Here. Yes, are you with me? No, you need shver sanod. We're talking about, there's no shver sanod here. No, but here the water seep going through the side. We're not talking about the top. The case before we're speaking about, you put a kalim in a vessel, and now you immerse it fully in the mikveh. The water goes through the top. So we're not talking about the water goes through the sides. The water's coming through the opening. The mouth, not a problem. The opening is wide enough. It's more than a shver sanod. So because it's more than a shver sanod, there's no such thing as a wicker basket where the opening is not minimally that. Therefore, it's a valid tefillah. But here we're talking about he built a wall made of wicker baskets, divided mikveh down the center. So how does the water from one side get to the other side? It has to flow through the wall. So it's flowing through the baskets. How large are those holes? Tiny holes. So even though factually the water's seeping back and forth, but factually the holes aren't large enough. Because that's Mishmer Sanod. No, then it's connected. Then it's connected. Then it's connected. Yeah, okay. Now, he says that we said earlier, now comes out a whole different, another halachic difference between Rava and Rabbeila. we said, if you have a vessel and you have contaminated crochet hooks or needles, you put them, let's say, in a soda bottle, and you immerse it in the mikveh, we don't see the water in the bottle connected to the mikveh. What about if the outer vessel that you put in was contaminated? It was a contaminated bottle. Now, when you immerse that bottle in the mikveh, a contaminated bottle or vessel, the water, not only does the water have to touch the outer part of the vessel, it has to touch the inner part. So that means when you immerse that and it fills with water, you see the water in the bottle as what? As being part of the mikveh, right? Because there's not a question of connecting. That's a question. The bottle is fully immersed in the mikveh, and the water inside, so if it's contaminated, it's the water in the bottle is mikveh water. Is connected to the mikveh. Because otherwise, how do you have a tovel, a bottle where the opening is not large enough? So if the mikveh is effective regarding the bottle, the outer bottle, so therefore the crochet hooks or the needles that are in the bottle, in what water are they sitting? They're sitting in mikveh water. Therefore, it's a valid tefillah. According to Rav, it's not a problem. Okay? Vani mili b'kli tor. When is it a problem? You can't put a contaminated vessel in a vessel. That's only if the outer vessel is tor. Ava b'kli tomei migut sokol tefillah lekule gufe demono. Since the tefillah is effective regarding the outer vessel fully, the outer part and the inner part is considered all that vessel is fully immersed in the mikveh. So kanami lekalim the isbei. So it also affects the kalim that are within the vessel, right? Because if it's mikveh water in the vessel, so that means the inner kalim in the vessel or in the mikveh. Ditnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, kalim shemisna milon bekalim vidbilon. If you take kalim and you put it in other kalim and you harei torim vimlo toval, ma'ima muruvin achiu murovin gishversna. He says, if they need tefillah, they're torin. Vimlo toval means, and if they don't need tefillah, if the outer kli does not need tefillah, ma'ima murovin, and the water intermixes achiu murovin gishversna, then the opening of the vessel has to be gishversna node. Otherwise, it's not a valid tefillah. So if you put something in a soda bottle, and the soda bottle would be not contaminated, it's not a valid tefillah, right? It's not valid. My komar, what does it mean? No, with the wicker basket, you're lowering the basket fully. You're lowering it fully that the water goes over the top. So the opening is, it is. It's not from the side. It's not going to be valid. No, because how does the water get? The water goes into the bottle. It's different. Here, the wicker basket doesn't need tefillah. So you want to be told the vessel's in the wicker basket. When the water goes through the top of the basket, so the water in the basket, I say, is part of the mikveh. Why? Because the opening of the basket is shver sanod, right? Shver sanod, it's not a problem. But let's have a very narrow opening vessel, and I put. No, there it's used the wicker baskets to make a wall. Here, the water, you're immersing the whole wicker basket below the water. So the water's coming through the opening, through the mouth of the basket. So therefore, of course. No, but the only way the water get into the bottle is only through the hole. The hole is too small. It's tiny. So if the bottle is tamei, so since the tefillah is effective for the bottle, that means the water, even in the bottle, is called mikveh water. So that means the bottle is fully in the mikveh, including the water in the bottle. So since it's considered effective for the bottle, it's considered effective what's in the bottle. But let's say the bottle doesn't need tefillah. Doesn't need tefillah. So if that's the case, the water in the bottle, it may be filled with water, but the water in the bottle is not called mikveh water. Because it's not shver sanod. Shver means it's minimally 2 fingers. It's not. It's smaller than that. Therefore, it's not considered a connection to the mikveh. Right? Simple. My comma, what does it say in the Mishnah? What does he mean? Im lo toval hochi kamar. Im ain't tzorach tefillah. Im ain't tzorach lat bilo. If the outer vessel doesn't need tefillah because it's tor, then the opening has to be shver sanod. Okay? So we have an argument between Rav and Rabbeinu how to learn the first case of the Mishnah. Why are you not permitted to be tovel, kalim, and kalim? Is it because of chatzitza, or because you're concerned that the opening of the vessel may not be large enough? Okay? So Mar says, this issue of what the concern is, whether it's chatzitza or it's the question of Shver Sanot, Machlus Tanom Ditanya. Listen, Salver Gugasni, Shemilon Kalim. You had a basket, a wicker basket, or a other kind of basket, Gugasni. You filled it with vessels, with Bilon, Bein Lakodesh, Bein Latruma Torin. You hear this? The Tanakhama says that it's Tor for Kodesh and Truma. So what does that mean? So how do we reconcile it with our Mishnah? So evidently, clearly, the concern cannot be Chatzitza. So the Tanakhama holds what? The issue is what? Because of the opening. So as long as the opening is sufficient, and since by a basket, you'll never find an opening which is less than Shver Sanot, if it's valid. Abba Shol Omer, Rebbe Shol says no. L'truma, it's valid. Avalo L'kodesh. So what's the reason? Why according to Abba Shol is it not a tefillah because I'm concerned of Chatzitza? Somebody asks a question, Yihochi Trumanami? So why not Truma? If we're saying it's not effective for Kodesh, it shouldn't be effective even for Truma. Right? What's the svar to be Bechalik? Right? Both according to Rava and Rava and Rabbeinu. This Chumer, why is it only for Kodesh? Yochel Trumanami, Lamant Kamin. Who do we say it's not effective for? If somebody would come ask a Shaila, who would ask a Shaila of Truma and Kodesh? Not an Amoritz. Amoritz says, look, once it goes to the mikvah, it's Kodesh. I have no Shaila any longer. But we're talking about a Chaver. Chav means a person who has a special status, that he institutes all the stringencies of Chazal. So this man, he keeps the laws properly. So more says Lamant coming. Chaver miyadi, maybe yadi. Yeah, he says not a problem. You know why? Because a Talmud Chacham, a Chaver knows the laws of Chatzitza, and he knows the laws of Shver Sanot. So more says Yihochi Kodesh Nami Chazilei. Kodesh Nami. So if said by Kodesh. So why by if we're talking about a Chaver? So why by a Chaver? Or do we have the Chumrah by Kodesh? Right? You should be able to tovel Kalim. If Chatzitza is not an issue, and what? And what's name's not an issue. Shver Sanot is not an issue. So Mar says, you know what the problem is? Chazil le'amioritz, because the Amoritz will see the Chaver being tovel in a basket. Vazil matbil. Yeah. So he'll go and he'll do it, and it'll maybe a chatzitza. He'll do it the wrong way. Be a chatzitza. Someone says, if so, Trumanami Chazi le Amoritz. Vozil matbil. Yeah? So the Amoritz, how do we... The Truma, he'll also do the same thing. So if we're concerned with the Amoritz, it's going to misinterpret what the Chaver is doing, so let's be concerned by Truma will misinterpret it. Right? Good question. Amor says, you know something? Ozil matbil. You know something? If an Amoritz wants to give his truma, we don't take the truma from him. Why? Because we're concerned that Samar says, Kodesh nami lo mekabel minayu. So let's. Why do we accept his Kodesh? His Kodshim we accept. Right? Samar says, Kodesh nami lo mekabel minayu. Have it le'eva. Yeah, but it's a chumrah. Because you know what's something? Because there'll be eva. It'll create animosity between the Amoritz and the Chaver. We don't want to create animosity. So Mar says, Truma nami eva. We don't. What do you mean? You don't accept this Truma. You know, you're not a kosher enough Jew. So why is the eva by Truma? Why is the only eva by Kodesh? Lo ichbasle. Yeah, this. The Amoritz is not insulted. You know why? Dozo yovle l'koyin Amoritz Chavre. He says, you know, I don't have to give it to the rabbi. I have one of my buddies who's a Kohen. I'll give it to him. So Mar asks. So, but by Kodesh, it's something else already. You have to deal with a Kohen. All the Kohanim, the Chaverim. So if he misinterprets it, we got a problem. Right? So therefore, by Kodesh, even though the Chaver... Right? 1 second. Rega. Okay, let's continue.